It can only be attributable to human error.
You're entering parallel.
Where will we go next? This phantom from another time.
No one at the moment.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
That is one big pile of shit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of Cryptid Campfire.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, it's gonna get real.
Oh, yeah. We got a special topic. This one is going to be less cryptid and a little more realistic.
Cryptic.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. What are we talking about? Well, first of all, who are we?
I'm Jasmine.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Eli?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And we're listening to Cryptid Campfire.
We're listening
we
to
are
Cryptid
listening.
Campfire.
Yeah,
we
well-
are Cryptid Campfire.
Yeah, we
and
are
they're
Cryptid
listening.
Campfire, but I listen to the episodes once they drop, as you guys should be too. And today, we're talking about Dyatlov Pass.
We are going to butcher pronunciations per usual.
Per
so
usual.
Please don't come for us.
Or do.
Come at me, bro.
You can email us at cryptidcampfirepodcast@gmail.com.
You can tweet us.
Yeah,
there.
send us one of those tweets.
All right. So I have this really dramatic intro that I would like to share with
yeah.
everyone,
Can I just add a little bit more to my disclaimer first?
if you so desire.
Genuinely, like this, when I was researching this, I realized that this was an actual thing that happened and people really did die, and
Yeah.
I made the mistake of looking at postmortem photos.
Ooh.
Oh, I saw
So
those.
this might be a little more disturbing than what we usually talk about. We usually talk about like fun, mysterious creatures that may or may not exist and happenings and things like that. But this one's legit. This one's real. So this might not be for you if you're a little more sensitive to information like this. But we are still going to talk about it because it is kind of creepy. It's actually more than kind of creepy. It is really creepy. It's an unsolved mystery. So Eli, take it away with your intro.
All right. So this comes from Yuri Yudin. He was the 10th member of the group, but he turned back before everyone else did, and he was the only survivor. And this is what he says. If I could ask God just one question, it would be what really happened to my friends that night. Which is really sad, but it's very real.
And
So,
it'd make like a good like album cover.
what would?
If I could ask God one question.
Okay. All right, so I think we should just start off. I think we should go in chronological order,
Okay.
and we'll get to the really mysterious stuff later.
Yeah, let's set up
So we
what
should-
it was.
Yeah, what exactly happened? What is he referring to when he's talking about his friends?
Right.
What is
so
this incident?
they were all students at Ural Polytechnical Institute in Russia, UPI for short. Yuri Durashenko was the leader. He was a student of radio engineering. And what they wanted to do, this group of like 10 friends, they wanted to go up this mountain called Ortoten in the northern Urals. I'm not sure exactly where that's at, but
It's in Russia.
but Russia's
The
a big place.
former Soviet Union.
Yeah, it might have been the Soviet Union at the time.
It was.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But basically, they wanted to climb up this mountain because I guess there's different grades of mountain climbing passes. So they were all grade 2, and they wanted to be grade 3.
And they would have been granted grade 3 had they finished this hike.
Right. Yeah. So
Have you mentioned what year this was happening yet?
1959.
Okay.
So
In February.
in February, it's the name. Here's a little bit ominous. It's Ortoten in Russian, but in Mansi, which is the native tribe that lives in this region, they refer to the mountain as, and I'm going to butcher this really hard, Kolat Syakul, which is translated into English as Dead Mountain.
Ooh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so basically, I think what I was going to say is the minimum the hike would have had to been was 16 days. At least 8 days of those 16 would have to be in uninhabited regions, and 6 nights spent in a tent. So they have to like set up and take down a tent 6 times. So, and if they get meet all those qualifications, they'll get grade 3, and then that'll allow them to teach others their craft as masters of like camping out in the wilderness.
I'm really glad that you said all that because I had no idea that that was the whole reason for this hike. I just read that they were hikers and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't need any more information than
No,
that. Like, they
no.
were going on a hike. But
they're-
there was a mission behind their hike.
No,
they were
yeah,
doing it for schnitz and giggles.
Schnitz and giggle. So I guess I'll just name off all 10 members.
Oh yeah, 10 Russian names.
10 Russian names. Here we go. So we got Yuri Doroshenko, which was the leader. We have Ludmila Dubinina,
Okay.
and she was the youngest member. She was 20 years old. Igor Dyatlov, that's
The name of
the name.
the pass.
and I think it's generally accepted that he was the first one who died.
Or was he the main guy in charge of the hike?
No, Doroshenko was.
Oh, I was.
I don't know.
research
There's a
says
lot
that-
of weird stuff going on.
Yeah, the Igor was in charge of.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was
'Cause
too.
Is it his name that this incident is named after?
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense then. That
That
It
he's like
would
the-
make,
the
but
main
that's not
guy.
what my book said.
Oh.
Well,
Well, your book said he was too busy digging up dead bodies for Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Wait, what? Oh,
Igor.
Igor. Yeah, okay. I was like, I don't understand.
I don't get that
Um,
reference.
All right, we got 3 out of 10. Here we go. Alexander Kolevatov.
Hey, good name.
Zinaida Kolmogorova. Wow.
Ooh.
All right, this one's a real tongue twister. Yuri Krivanishchenko, also known as Georgie. So we're going to refer to him as Georgie.
Hey, Georgie.
Rustam Slobodin, which I think is a dope name. Nikolai Thibault Brignolis. Yuri Yudin, which is the survivor, and Alexander Zolotaryov. And yeah, so
Not a single Smirnoff in the group.
no, not
No Yakov
what's the
Smirnoffs?
difference though? I don't know. Everyone, half of them were named Yuri, the other half was named Alexander, and then there was like 2 girls. So
Two ladies.
so Yudin, the survivor, at first glance, at first listen, you might be like, him turning back early might seem kind of suspicious, but I guess he had a bunch of health problems.
He
His
had, like,
back was hurting.
Back, knee, had a heart condition, I
Yeah,
believe.
he had a bunch of issues, but he ended up turning back a few days early because his back was just hurting too bad, so he had to go back.
I read that he turned back the first day.
Ooh.
Did he?
I could be wrong, but that's what I read. I read that he barely even went on the trip. Like, he got ready to go, and he was out for 1 day, and then he realized he was sick and he wasn't going to make it, and he turned back.
He was out there for a couple of days because he kept trying to power through,
Oh.
but like then it was just like too bad.
Well, either way, he turned back and did not have to experience whatever it was that
not-
the
That they
other
experienced.
We did
nine
not have to experience the
experienced.
horrors of hiking.
Yes. So I guess that we have that all set up. I think it was February 1st is the last day we have anything recorded from them.
Mm-hmm.
Last pictures taken, and then they just disappeared.
And until, because they were one of their colleagues was going to get a postcard from them by like
Yeah.
the 16th, I believe,
Yeah.
February 16th.
They were supposed to hear from them.
And then no, they didn't hear anything. So then I think they went searching on the 20th, February
Yeah.
20th is
And
when
they didn't find them till March, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like mid-March they finally
So-
found them, and
I guess this is where we get into the bodies.
this is the gory
Well,
details.
The reason that this all happened is because they got sidetracked by a snowstorm. They were knocked off course. They weren't following the path that they were supposed to be following. This snowstorm caused them to go off of the path that they were supposed to be going down, so they camped out on the eastern slope of another mountain that they hadn't originally planned to be on, and that's where this all happened.
That makes
Interesting.
sense because in the book I was reading, Zinaida, one of the women, she kept a journal, a diary every day, and she was talking about how she was really obsessed with the Mansi tribe and like how they knew how to navigate that region. They even left up signs, but the problem is they didn't know how to read Mansi, so they just followed some signs hoping that it was
the
the right
right
way. So, and she like pretty.
And the signs are pretty wild looking too.
Yeah, she made a reference like, oh, this trip should be like the trail of strange signs or something like that, which sounds really cryptic, but I guess it's not.
And it's also
So-
a cool album name.
Also a cool album name, yeah. But I guess the bodies. The first thing they found was the tent, I guess,
Yes.
which
was cut open from
From
the
the inside.
inside.
meaning,
Da-da-da.
and like here I gotta make a point about this because when you're thinking of a tent, like these are like below freezing temperatures. This tent is like a thick tent.
It's a pretty wild looking tent.
Yeah, it's
I hadn't thought about that, to be
it's
honest.
industrial grade. They said like to unclip all the doors because there was clips on the doors to keep them closed. Like it wasn't just a zipper. Like
Okay.
it would be easier to get out that way than it would be to cut through the tent. It would take way longer to cut through the tent. So like
This is like a heavy duty.
yeah, but there's a theory about that we'll get to.
Yeah,
later.
we'll get into the theories.
yeah.
So the tent was cut from the inside.
And then there's most of their belongings and some of their shoes were in the tent. Outside the tent, this doesn't come up on the internet, but it came up in the book. There was an ice pick and a Chinese torch just outside the tent.
What?
Yeah. But they
What's the book you got this
it's
from?
called Dead Mountain. Hold up. It's in my Kindle.
Ooh.
I'll pull it up.
This is our advertising for Kindle. If you know anyone who works for Kindle, we were naming some book about some people who died in the Russian mountains. So give us your money.
Let's see.
Not a sponsor yet, but maybe someday.
Yeah, we'll promote any book about dead people.
Dead Mountain. Hold up. Dead Mountain. It's called Dead Mountain: The Untold True Story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, and it's by Donnie Eicher.
Cool. Thank
So-
you.
Thank you, Donnie.
And that's basically where I did most of my research. I hardly
Cool.
use the internet.
Cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they followed the footsteps of the. They found footsteps leading from the tent towards the forest. Some of the footsteps they're like barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them had shoes.
And
And
some
then-
of them were socks.
Right.
I don't know how you can tell the difference between.
There's like no
Soft
shape.
and-
It's just like
yeah.
because
Right.
with the boot, there's probably like ridges that you
Right.
can kind of see.
Yeah.
Okay.
They followed the tracks that led to the forest, which was a mile away at this point. So they ran through the snow for a mile.
Well, did they run? Because the
Well, I
reports the reports
walked.
were, which is weird, is yeah, it's like there was like no hurry in the steps. It's like calm walking steps.
I'm not
like
sure.
the gait was like there was. It's like you can tell when someone's running in the snow,
Mhm.
and the reports were that there was just like they were just calmly walking,
Maybe.
which is another weird aspect.
I don't know. But then they found the first bodies, which was Krivonischenko and Yuri Doroshenko, the leader. And they were wearing only their underwear, no socks, and there was evidence of a fire near them. So, and they're laying next to each other. I saw the bodies. So,
And they were up against a tree, right?
yeah, they were close to a tree.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I read something on the internet when I did a little bit of research last week that some of the branches from the tree were broken, which I guess they used to make the fire. I guess.
But they were like really high up,
yeah,
broken
really high
branches,
up.
like-
yeah.
because the tree's maybe like 20 feet,
Yeah. it
and
was,
there
like,
were at
up
least
there.
15 feet that broken branches were from,
Right.
which is kind of a weird.
Right. But they found three more of the people. They found Dyatlov, Zinaida, and Kolmogorova, and Slobodin. Oh, that's right. I put her first and last name. Okay, so Dyatlov, one of the women, Zinaida, and Slobodin, and they all died of hypothermia. And they all died separately from each other. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So at this point in the story, it's weird, but it gets weirder.
Oh, yeah, but it gets weirder 2 months later because they can't find anybody else.
So they just find the 5 bodies.
Yeah. So there's 4 more. They found them in a ravine. And so Thibaut Brignoles had a significant skull damage. And this is like not really a steep ravine. It kind of is, but it's not
Not
like
like a crazy deep one.
like if it, like they're saying basically if you were to fall down this ravine, it would most likely you would survive.
Uh-huh.
So like,
Okay.
it's not like you're falling 50 feet down. Like it's a smoother slope. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had major chest fractures, which I'll get to that later. But Dubinina was missing her tongue, her eyes, some lips, and facial tissue,
That much, really.
and as well as a fragment of her skull was missing.
I read just that her tongue was missing.
No, it's like
And
a lot.
I believe she's the one who also had like a bunch of blood in her stomach.
What?
Did she?
One
I
of
don't know.
one of the people had like a lot of like a slimy red material
That's gross.
during the autopsy. They found in her. I
I-
believe it was her.
And then, well, maybe I don't know, but I skimmed through the book. I discovered that I had it yesterday, even though I've had it for well over a year now.
You discovered you could read the first page and the back page and kind of glean the
Fill
rest
in the
of
rest?
the story.
Yeah, sure.
That's
So-
what I did in my history project in college.
Oh, really?
Remember I
Really?
told you I read the first page, I read the last page, and I skimmed through the rest. And wrote a
Jeez.
full book report and got an A.
Heck yeah.
That's crazy.
That's the American school
Sorry,
system
I'm
for you.
Sorry, Miss Louisa. I think that was her name. And sorry, Mom, you're probably just learning about this for the first time.
But if you could be so kind to give us 5 stars on iTunes after that good apology.
So, and what's weird as well is that some of them, because some of them didn't have clothes, they were like wearing each other's clothes. Even one guy was wearing his buddy's watch as well as his own, so he had 2 wristwatches on. Somebody was wearing, one of the women was wearing somebody's socks, like somebody else's socks. Just really weird.
Just mismatched clothes on everybody.
Yeah, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I guess we can get into the theories.
All right.
But the weirdest thing that I don't think you mentioned this, their bodies were found to have radiation on them.
We'll get into that
Oh yeah.
Okay.
because that okay. So
That's
I get
that's
since-
part of one of the theories, but that is
They did-
one of the facts about
they
the
did.
bodies.
So all right. So this is what happened, and it's really really messed up what happened because they found these bodies. They shipped them out because they didn't want them to decompose before they did autopsies on them, because the snow kind of preserved them. So they flew them out. They told the parents that they had found their bodies, but didn't tell them in what state they were found. They didn't tell them where they were taking their bodies. In fact, originally they didn't want to hold their funerals in their hometowns. They didn't want to do that. And while they were trying to figure out where the source of this radiation came from, there was no contact to the parents whatsoever. And this went on for like a month. So you just get a message, hey, we found your kid. They died. And then that's it for like a month.
It's very Russian.
And it's very mysterious, very pretty messed up. There was like a whole chapter on that in the book, and I just kind of skimmed through it, but it was just just the confusion of the parents, just like
Yeah, trying to figure out what's going on.
of people in the hometown, even just like their friends, just like okay, like what's going on. But yeah, the radioactive, their clothing was found to be radioactive, and so I found this out in the book. It described the Russian standard, or the Soviet standard back then, was interacting with radioactive material was that if it was 5,000 decays per minute, I have no idea what that means.
Neither do I.
It was safe enough to come in contact with without any sort of protective clothing. But their clothing was found at over 9,000 decays a minute. So almost twice as much as what was safe. And some of them were naked, pretty much,
And
So
their skivvies.
yeah, so I don't know, it seemed pretty strange.
Yeah, and I have a theory about where this radioactivity came from.
Okay.
So there's this book called Dyatlov Pass by Alexei Rakitin,
Okay.
and it introduces the theory that Alexander Zolotaryov,
Yeah.
Alexander Kolevatov, and Yuri Krivonichenko were KGB agents.
Those names were people from the group, right?
Yeah, those 3 guys
Yeah.
from the group were actually undercover KGB agents
KBG.
on a mission to uncover a cell of CIA agents in Russia.
Interesting.
And
But why
that's-
would they hike up a mountain? I don't know. That doesn't make
Well,
sense.
the thing is they went on the trip to go through the mission because they had the idea that maybe there was a camp of CIA agents
Huh.
and that they were using this as a decoy, as like, oh, we're just kids, college hiking, having
Yeah.
some fun, so the CIA wouldn't freak out. But something went wholly wrong, and the CIA agents killed the group. There's this idea of that the radioactiveness was a decoy,
Interesting.
because Russia would usually put radioactive stuff on things as a decoy to freak out the CIA.
What?
So like random things would be radioactive, and the CIA would be like, "Hey, there's something over in this area of Russia. Let's go check it out." Then the Russians would be like, "Haha, we tricked them. We know that there's a cell around here because they investigated that area."
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So according to the theory, 2 or more members of the group were hired by the KGB to deliver fake proof of radioactive tainted clothes. The rest of the group was
Wow.
probably unaware of the real purpose. There's one of those. An interesting thing is this version has a few more mysterious things that are mentioned, like the radioactive clothes. I guess there was gray foam found on Doroshenko's face
That's gross.
when they found him, and along with the absence of the shoes and garments, and I guess one camera was missing from the group. They don't know where that went. And another thing that kind of adds to this whole like Cold War spy theory is that Zeman Alexander Zolotaryov,
Yeah.
he was 37. He was an instructor at the remote a remote tourist center. He joined the group at the last minute before they went on the hike.
Hmm.
Like he kind of just showed up. And was like,
He sounds significantly older than the rest of the group,
yeah,
too.
everyone else was kind of like in their early 20s.
Yeah, 2023.
And apparently he was a veteran of combat who fought for the NKVD, which is like kind of like Russian special forces, I believe. And he had like this weird tattoo that nobody knows what it meant. It was just like a bunch of words, a bunch of letters, and no one knows what it is. But I think maybe it was like a secret kind of war tattoo. And archives from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, where all the kids were from.
Yeah, the UPI.
UPI, good old UPI, revealed that Alexander Kolovatov, before transferring to the physics technical department of the UPI, he worked in Moscow as a laboratory assistant in a top secret scientific facility, an unknown atomic facility.
Is this for real?
That's what the records from
Right, 'cause
Ural
I know-
Polytechnic Institute show up.
Wow.
UPI.
There's there's a lot more Russian books on this than there are American books.
That's the thing too. Is like
Yeah.
all the info we get is from like translated Russian books.
Yeah.
And more info kind of comes out every few years. Like,
Right.
oh hey, like the stuff's been released, or someone found a new file.
Wild.
But I guess he worked in a top secret facility
But
with
the-
radioactive material. And
Well, here's the thing, because there's no evidence of a fight.
that's because the CIA's quiet.
But like, it's snow. You're gonna leave footprints unless you're just hovering above the ground.
I mean, they could have had secret UFO technology that helped them
Right.
combat.
Well-
And that is another one of the theories.
Well, here we go.
Aliens.
Aliens. But yeah. Here
Because
we
there's
go.
a photo of a possible UFO found on one of the
We'll
cameras.
get into that because here we go.
Yeah.
It's a guy named Vladislav Karelin, and his group shadowed Dyatlov's group, and they were like kind of doing the same thing, kind of another like they're trying to upgrade themselves, but
cybernetically.
yeah. So basically, him and his group of dudes, they're out there camping and stuff, and it was the morning of February 17th. They witnessed a strange celestial phenomenon, as Carolyn describes it. So Carolyn was woken by people on breakfast duty. They were like screaming. He gets up out of his bed, out of the tent in just his underwear and socks, which I feel like is somewhat significant. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been written in the book.
The Breakfast Club was yelling?
Yeah,
Or breakfast duty?
Breakfast Club was yelling.
Were they yelling, wakey, wakey, eggs and bacon?
No. So he jumps out and he sees this large as he describes it, a light spot in the air. And a small star appeared in the middle of it, and it grew. And then the spot moved from northeast to southwest and down. I'm not sure what down means, but and it lasted for a whole minute. And I guess there was a bunch of other people who saw it, and apparently the light was so bright that it woke people up in their houses.
Oh.
That they got up and they just like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they think. Maybe that had something to do with what they saw, because I think the final photo in Georgie's camera was a lens flare in the middle of the picture, with a blurb in the upper left. I actually have a picture of it if you guys would like to see it.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners, you can't see.
Well, we'll throw it on the Facebook group.
Or the
Sure,
Instagram.
yeah.
On the Instagram, yeah, we'll throw it up. You guys can take a look at this photo.
Yeah, so
Possible UFO. Maybe they abducted the group.
yeah, so here, this is what it looks like.
And this is a real photo from
This
one
is
of their...
this is the final photo taken from the group.
Interesting.
So they don't know what it is.
And if it was the UFOs, that might explain why
The radiation.
the
maybe?
radiation and the body, the tongue removed on the
Yeah,
the
it's
one
true.
girl.
So yeah, also interesting to note about the tent. I kind of like jumping all over the place here. Is that the back of it was slashed from the inside, right?
Mhm.
But the front of it had ice pick holes in it, like somebody was trying. But from the outside, so somebody was trying to get in
inside.
with an ice pick.
And a Chinese
Really?
lantern, right? You
And
said there's
yeah,
a
the Chinese lantern. Okay, so this is what I got on the Chinese lantern. Where's it at?
And that's not like a name for firework, right?
No.
It's just like a big firework, like.
No, I think because they're so close to China, because some of them had like Chinese clothing and stuff like that. So,
Apparently, Russia's really close to China.
it is.
Oh,
Geographically,
it's,
geographically challenged.
every
So
episode I learned something new about geography.
I
Well,
know, right?
there's Russia here, and then Mongolia is a tiny little strip, and then China's right there. So,
Interesting. Good to know.
so the tent,
Uh-huh.
the ice pick, and the
And
Chinese
Jasmine just showed
torch.
me a picture of.
Perfect. One fully dressed person. The Chinese torch was, I'm assuming, is like a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
It basically means at least one fully dressed person was outside signaling to the others that it's time to leave.
Okay.
That's what, I forget who said that. Some guy who was actually there investigated it in the 1950s, but they also thought that the tent was cut from the outside.
Interesting.
So they could be wrong. Someone could have just dropped their flashlight. Let's see.
So we got possible KGB, CIA. We got UFO, maybe.
Oh, interesting. Another one too is Kolevatov's sister, Rima, at their funeral. She said that everyone who was at the funeral, like all the deceased, she said that all of their skin was darker than it had been when they left, which wouldn't be really possible if they're all covered in snow gear. You know, like you wouldn't. Maybe your face would, but like
maybe a light burn from a UFO.
yeah, maybe. But all of them were like darker.
They had a nice tan.
Yeah, and
Not a vacation I want to take.
no, for sure.
The risk of getting a good tan.
So, also another one, a lot of people bring this up for some reason, is that the Mansi could have attacked them.
I saw that theory.
And I have something that disproves it pretty well. So it also came from the book. So Ivan Rempel, he met the hikers a week before they disappeared. He states that, and he's like in with the Mansi people. He says they're very hospitable when you visit or meet them. He also said that Dead Mountain is not a sacred spot for them, so like they weren't trespassing in any tribal sacred ground, so like they wouldn't have any reason to attack them. And on top of that, the Mansi people have often been known to help lost Russians. Like if they got lost in the wilderness, they help
They'll
them.
give them a hand.
Yeah, and like give them food or take them inside. So it's like really not a viable option that they got attacked by Mansi people.
And there's that old saying,
What is
passed
that?
down from Mansi tradition to tradition.
What
Man
is-
see, man do.
Good job. Good job, Alex.
Thank you.
Um,
Do you have any other theories? Jasmine?
I think that one of the theories that they talk about is probably in this book. I know you said you skimmed it, but the research I found online mentions the book that you're talking about, saying that they may have been driven to hysteria by infrasound waves caused by a weather phenomenon known as Kármán vortex street. I
I was
don't
saving
know.
that for the end.
Oh,
but
you were? Shoot.
It's fine. I mean, if anyone has any more theories, we can.
Well, the
Yeah.
Yeti's a possible one, but
Yeah.
we had all that fun.
Yeah.
Last week, right?
yeah.
I guess we should say one of the reasons why we're talking about Dyatlov Pass is
Oh, yeah.
last week we were talking about the Yeti, and this came up with some of my research. But because this one has so much going on, we were figuring instead of doing a small segment of it during the Yeti podcast, we'd save it for a whole new podcast so we could talk about all the really weird, kind of strange things going on in it. But there's a chance that the Yeti did it.
Well, I jumped the gun on this one theory, but the most realistic theory that people talk about is that they suffered an avalanche. They were caught in an avalanche, but there's a lot of things that don't line up with that.
Right. Well, Dead Mountain has never had a history of an avalanche,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no avalanches recorded on that day.
Right.
And there was no, like, snow everywhere. when we
Yeah,
found it.
no.
Other than, like,
Exactly.
I think a thin layer of ice or snow on the tent.
Right.
Like, there had been, like, one
Exactly.
snowfall.
Yeah. So.
So there's a lot of unexplained things.
So even though it seems like the most realistic explanation, there's no evidence that an avalanche was even a
right.
thing.
Well, I think. I guess I'm gonna jump to a completely different subject, because it's kind of itching at me. But because it boggled my mind for so long was the chest fractures,
Yeah.
because they said that the only way you could get chest fractures that bad is if you got into like a head-on collision going like really fast. And one theory that I heard, and it's probably the best explanation that I've ever heard for it, was that because it took them 2 months to find these people in the ravine. Only the people in the ravine had the chest fractures. So like they're saying that the weather, because weather fluctuates, so the snow melts and refreezes, that the refreezing warped their bodies
Oh.
and probably crushed them and like did weird things
Especially
to their
because
bodies.
we're, like, what, 90% water?
Yeah.
The human body?
Yeah.
And on top of that too, they were found underneath a significant amount of snow.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys in the ravine. So
And they had, like, weird damage on their certain parts of their areas that
Right.
was, like, akin to, like, water damage. Like,
yeah.
So it's possible that these fractures and these internal wounds came after they had died.
Yeah, it didn't happen when they died.
It wasn't cause of death.
No.
Interesting.
As far as the woman with such a messed up face,
Mm-hmm.
because she was like found dead with another guy, and they were, I don't know how the guy was positioned, but I saw a picture of the girl, and she was on her knees on a rock. They're
Mhm.
saying that when she fell, she hit her face on the rock, breaking her nose, jacking up some of her face, and she tried crawling out, but she was like
Disoriented.
disoriented, and she died of hypothermia after that. And then she just kind of,
Interesting.
yeah, so,
Bad luck all around.
yeah, but the infrasonic frequencies.
Ooh, what
So-
the heck is that?
All right, so
It's a real thing.
it is a real thing. It's a low frequency sound that we can't hear, but we can feel it.
Because I guess you call it the fear frequency, is what it's known as.
Yeah, possibly.
Because the human ear can pick up sounds around 20 hertz mark.
20 hertz to 20,000 or 20 kilohertz. So like, there's like
Sure.
spectrum.
My note says 20 Hz mark. So
Yeah, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So like 20,000. So 20 to 20,000.
Okay. Sure.
That's it.
A
yeah.
lot of this information we are finding out for the first time, guys. We do not claim to
the-
be experts. We are learning as we go. We're just talking
Yeah.
about this interesting stuff
I
because
just
it
want
is
to talk
interesting.
about the Yeti that killed these people, and science keeps getting in the way. But usually the with infrasound is like just below it, like 16 to 19.
1 to 20 is what I got, and
Sure,
they say
what the
it's
hell
not.
not?
They say that it's not dangerous. Really, they say it can make you feel uncomfortable, but they say if it's at 7 hertz, that's when you gotta be scared of it. I guess.
Well, it's interesting because There was a 2000. I guess there was Vladimir Gravier was a French scientist who first noticed the effect of
Okay.
infrasound
All right.
due to a badly designed fan in his work area.
Huh.
His lab assistants would get nauseous for no reason, and he found out they had a big fan in the area that was like making a weird, and so they felt it, and it made him was emitting sound waves. And a 2003 study in the UK found that a fifth of people exposed to infrasound reported feeling anxious, scared, and unable to breathe properly, which is also the symptoms of having a part-time job. But
So this phenomenon happens when a fluid or gas, in this instant of the past incident, wind, flows around an object, being
Like
a
a
mountain.
tent.
Like what?
A tent.
A tent. That too.
or kind of like the
Yeah.
pass itself,
Yeah.
the way it's shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of curvy, so
Yeah.
the sound kind of hits and curves around a certain way.
Yeah.
So these sound waves at a very low frequency, they've been blamed for harmful physiological and psychological symptoms in human beings. Like Alex said, most of the symptoms being annoyance to fatigue and nausea. There's been no documented cases that it has made people as crazy as maybe what happened at the pass. But because people argue that the phenomenon, even though it's real, resulting in the skiers like being in severe panic and fleeing the safety of their own tent doesn't seem likely.
Well,
But
that's the what's Donnie's name? Is
Donnie
that his-
Brasco?
the book guy,
Donnie Eicher, yeah.
Donnie, yeah.
Donnie Eicher, that's his theory, and I believe it.
His
Oh.
theory of what happened.
Is
You're
infrasonic
putting
sounds.
your foot down on
on-
infrasound?
Yeah, because here's the thing, because Zenaida.
The Princess Warrior?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
No, her nickname was Xena, I guess. So in her diary, the one who wrote the diary, she was saying that the wind started picking up on January 31st. That like the day started off calm, but then the wind just kind of came out of nowhere. But basically they set up this tent right up in the middle of nowhere, getting their points or whatever, however it worked to get these qualifications. And as the wind starts to settle in, it starts off small. They start feeling a little bit uneasy because I guess like their little food cooker wasn't set up all the way when they found it in the tent, and they're saying like they were trying to do it, but then they just got so uneasy that they're like, maybe we shouldn't set this up all the way in case like something happens, like because they were all sort of becoming irrational, like something might happen,
Being
but
anxious.
because in the anxiety and all this uncomfortableness comes up, and like maybe nobody was really talking because they're all feeling it, and to the point where it was just too much. It was like way too much. So I guess the bottom clasps of the tent door was unclasped. So they're saying that the two women could have jumped out that way, while the guys inside were just so freaked out they just needed to get a way out. So they took that ice pick and hacked open the tent
And started trying to cut it up.
and just got out. And then they ran down to the forest, and then that's when the infrasound started going away. The effects of it started going away, and they realized that, oh, what are we doing? Why are we out here? Like, this is just so weird. But it was pitch black, and they couldn't figure out where they were in relation to the tent. Some of them started maybe going to the tent and then died on the way, and they all just were ill prepared, and just kind of all this stuff happened. So, but I mean, it doesn't account for everything. I don't think any theory really will.
Yeah.
Except
Oh no.
I have my own theory.
Oh.
Oh, that's right.
I done the research.
Okay.
I was looking up some stuff,
All right.
and
But before you continue, is this an actual theory or is this the setup for a joke?
it's not the setup of a joke. It's a theory.
Okay.
It's just my theory
All
that
right.
I'm sticking to until someone with their damn dirty science can explain away.
All right, go for it.
So, this takes place in the
19
Ural Mountains
Okay.
Right.
in the former Soviet Union. There is a town called Okhyor Town in the Ural Mountains, Ochyor, and it's predominant because it has a lot of important discoveries about fossils of dinosaurs.
Mm.
Normally, specifically thurosids, which are like crocodile dinosaurs.
This is a route I did not think we would be taking.
All right. We're into dinosaurs now.
And
All
one of
right.
the most predominant dinosaurs that have been found is called the Estyminosuchus, which is like a crocodile dinosaur.
Okay.
They found remains of it. The first remains of it were found in 1952.
Okay.
a couple years-
7 years
cou-
before.
A couple years before.
A couple years before, you figure the ice melts, reforms. I believe an Estemosaurus was defrosted in 1959 and went on a rampage.
Oh no.
And the reason we can't find it is because the snowfall refroze it.
Really?
Oh, no.
So you think it had been alive the whole time?
Yeah.
Like a Captain America type
Yeah,
dinosaur?
I'm putting my foot down on the theory that this dinosaur came, ripped up the tent, climbed up a tree, shook some branches, stepped on a few people's chests, and ate a lady's face.
Wow.
And then it got frozen back.
Wow.
The facts, they line up. I'm
The
telling
facts.
you.
They line- the facts
The
line
Ural
up.
Mountains, this Okhyor town, the discovery in 1952.
Wow.
I'm telling you.
I
What?
mean,
We
There's
just solved
actually-
the Dyatlov Pass.
Maybe. Yeah, there's some animals that have been known that they can freeze.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
the frogs.
Yeah, the frogs, they can freeze completely, and then when they're unfrozen, just come back
Be
to
Yeah,
life.
fine.
go back.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's living fossils. We mentioned it in the first episode, coelacanths,
Yeah.
the living fossil. That's my take on it, and I'm sticking to
Your
it.
mother's a living fossil. Okay, that was actually really mean. I'm so
You
sorry,
son
Alex's
of a
mom.
bitch. I was like, we're just healing from like the Bronze Age massacre,
Yeah, the massacre.
and you're going picking fights and throwing insults.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
if anyone is interested in learning even more details about this incident that we've been talking about today, there's an entire website dedicated to it.
There's books on it, so learn Russian.
BuzzFeed
learn Russian.
Unsolved did an
I mean,
episode about
yeah,
it.
I watched that
Is
this
it really?
morning.
Yeah.
They basically said all of the same stuff we did and just was like, it's unsolved, which it is, but
However, we just solved it.
Alex thinks he just solved it. But there was just so much information. Like the website that I looked at, I mean, I knew a lot of the general information that we talked about today, but when I was doing the research for it and I found this website, I just got so overwhelmed. I mean, there's charts and diagrams and maps and just all of this information about this real life event that happened and trying to figure out how these 9 people died, and it's a crazy
Yeah.
rabbit hole of information, and it freaks me out, but we talked about it, so here we
Yeah.
are.
So,
And
What-
you guys listened to it, and so you guys get a gold star.
and now you get to tell us your theories.
Yeah.
So-
You should tell us your emails. You can find us at.
Tell us your email.
Yeah, tell us your theories.
I'm not giving out my
I'm
personal
just,
email.
I'm just gonna keep messing up every form of like electronic messaging. But my name is Alex Daikaiju. You can tweet me at Alex Daikaiju. If you think my theory is awesome, please tell me. If you think it's not, then don't add me.
Don't
I
add
don't want to
me.
hear it.
You can find me on Twitter at Jasmine May W. That's JasmineMaeW.
Yeah, and you can find me at EJ Workshop. That's EJ Workshop. That's not to be confused with Eli Workshop, because I told someone in person this morning actually.
Oh.
And they're like, "What's your Twitter?" And I was like, EJ Workshop, and they typed in Eli Workshop. So it's not Eli Workshop. Okay.
Good to know. I was just about to tweet that person.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Don't tweet them. I don't know who they is. So
Thanks
Well,
for listening, guys. This
yeah.
wasn't exactly a cryptid that we were talking about today, but it was still...
I mean, the Yeti was involved.
That is true. That was our tie-in. That's how we get
That's how
away
we-
with
That's how
talking
we got
about
to this
this.
crazy point. But yeah,
Well, I mean, we talked about the Bronze Age. We can talk about anything.
yeah,
about
what the hell? You know what? Next episode, maybe we'll talk about like
fish tanks.
Fish tanks.
Alex thinks one of our old managers at our old job was a robot. So
Oh yeah,
that's a
definitely. That's
thing.
an episode. Yeah, we're gonna talk
Oh
about
my
some
God.
androids maybe. We'll talk about how UFOs blew up the Titanic at some point.
Oh, God. All right.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes. I don't know if you can do it on Google Play, but do that as well. And we're on SoundCloud, so I don't know, like us on SoundCloud or something. I don't know how it
or
works.
something.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
We're on Facebook too.
You're on Facebook.